Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and today we'll be taking a look at the Marvel Legends Retro Series Green Goblin. And with that said, let's get right into it. Starting off with articulation, the Green Goblin has 360-degree head rotation. His neck allows him to look this far up and this far down. This movement is also helped by the fact that he can actually hinge his head back and also forward. Also, this neck piece is a completely separate piece, so by removing this, Green Goblin will also have a little bit more head movement looking up. In addition, his head sculpt also allows him to tilt his head. Moving on to his shoulders, the Green Goblin's arms are able to go this far up and almost all the way down. All the way down, actually. He has bicep swivel, and he has double jointed elbows that go a little bit past 90 degrees. And he also has horizontal hinges on both his hands. It's important to note, though, that the Green Goblin's sculpting, specifically on his shoulders, can sometimes kind of grind against the other plastic, and it does prevent articulation in some areas, mainly why his arms can't go all the way up. Moving on to his torso, the Green Goblin is able to move this far forward and this far back. He also has a waist cut that allows for 360-degree rotation. Moving forward, his legs are able to kick this high up and this far back. The Green Goblin also has thigh cut on both his legs, double jointed knees that go about this far, and he also has boot cut on both legs. His feet are able to go this far down and this far up. And on both feet, he has ankle pivot. When it comes to accessories, the Green Goblin comes with his own glider, a knapsack, a pumpkin bomb, and a Norman Osborn head sculpt. And if you want to be technical, the Green Goblin technically also comes with his little neck piece that is removable. Here's a quick look at the Green Goblin without his neck piece. Putting on his proper attire, the Green Goblin has excellent sculpt all around his body. Let's start with the head. I really like these eyes. Although it does look a little odd when I first got him, I actually have really grown to like his eyes. It has a really animated and cartoony look about it while still keeping a sinister glare about it. I really love that Hasbro went to the trouble of painting his teeth inside. Although I have seen other people get paint jobs of his teeth that are not done very well. I'm one of the lucky ones that has it done very well. I also like the wrinkles in the mask, and it really gives a sinister, evil look. Moving on to this hat, I guess you could call it. I also like that there's also sculpted wrinkles on here too. The wrinkles look really good. However, similar to many other figures, a lot of the sculpt is actually lost because there's no separation in between. It's sculpted all into one color, so a lot of the wrinkles and sculpting is kind of lost sometimes in certain areas, while in some areas it's not. Moving on to his arms and even his legs, I really like the sculpt of this like chainmail or like dragon scaly look to it. I know that Hasbro used this previous Green Goblin mold from the Rhino Build-A-Figure wave, I believe. But I'm really glad that they kept it, as I think it's a really good look. And also, I believe it might even be the same torso piece. And while the torso piece is actually fairly decent as more of just like a tunic that's like a spandex, I don't think that the articulation works very well, especially going forward. I think he could be able to look down a lot more with his chest articulation. But I do think that looking back is actually done fairly well. He also has this belt piece, which I'm not sure if this was also on the original or not. And this is one of the instances where things are lost in sculpt, as there's separation here. It seems like it's supposed to be like a belt piece. However, there's no coloration separation, so it's kind of hard to see sometimes, or at least it's not super noticeable. Same also goes for the backpack, as while they did paint the buckle here, they didn't paint anything else on the knapsack, so you can't really see anything else, like the stitching or even the buttons there. Moving on to his boots, I really like the design of these boots. They have a very tattered look on them, but they are also missing that, thing that brings out the detail. I think that black wash would actually work really well on this to bring out more of the wrinkles. Same goes for the feet as well, as the feet are sculpted very well to keep him on his glider. However, I think that a black wash would really help this in order to show off more of the wrinkles and just the overall design of the boots. For a size comparison, here's the Green Goblin next to the Retro Series Spider-Man and also the Marvel Legends Vulcan. For evil size comparison, let's show off the McFarlane Rebirth Joker and also the McFarlane 3 Jokers Clown. And now here's the retro Green Goblin on his Goblin Glider and holding his Pumpkin Bomb. And because I forgot to take a look at them, let's take a look at Green Goblin's accessories in more detail this time. Starting off with the Norman Osborn head sculpt, and I gotta say, I really like this Norman Osborn head sculpt. I think that's or at least while I think it is a good intention for an expression, I would have preferred maybe a more sinister looking Norman Osborn head. However, as a neutral Norman Osborn head sculpt, I do think that this is a very good head sculpt. I really like the hairstyle because the hairstyle represents the original version of Norman with like the very odd comey styled hair. And also, it might be hard to see on camera, but I also like that his eyes are actually painted green, resembling the goblin underneath Norman's personality. Now taking a look at the pumpkin bomb, I actually really like the sculpt of this. My only complaint is that I dislike the color of the orange. I wish it was a more metallic looking orange and there was a little bit of a black wash to bring out the lines. However, it does make sense. After all, this is a retro series carded figures, so it's going to be more the cartoony side. But I do like the green, and also I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but kind of like the gray scuffing areas. I'm not sure if it was paint chip or something, but it kind of gives it off like a more smoky look. So I do like that part about the pumpkin bomb. And lastly, taking a look at his glider, I do think that this is a very good design for the glider. However, I don't like that there's no paint on this, or at least it doesn't seem like there's paint. There's a lot of marvelization in the paint scheme, and it looks like this is probably just molded plastic for the most part. I would have really liked if Hasbro had gone through the trouble of painting this more. In addition, I also think that this almost like a blue silver tint to the overall glider is kind of a weird choice. I would have preferred more of a flat or maybe just like a plain silver. I think it would have looked better. However, I do really like the sculpting of the thrust in the back as it has a really good design, and also it's just detailed. I love like the little like vents, and also I do appreciate the fact that Hasbro still kept the sculpting here for the tube of the glider. In addition, I think that in the future, Hasbro should definitely make the glider slightly bigger, as I do think that's sort of small on the Green Goblin at sometimes, or at least maybe a version of the Green Goblin, like from the animated series, that actually gets his mega glider that he adds onto a smaller glider. Overall, I find the Retro Series Green Goblin to be a semi-adequate addition to my collection. And since I don't really have a Green Goblin, I think that it's a fantastic addition to it. However, it still is lacking in a lot of areas, such as certain areas that would bring out the paint more. But I do understand that since it is a Retro Series card, that detail would be somewhat less in the sense of adding on to the overall scheme of the retro card feeling. However, I think that this figure is not too bad overall. If you definitely don't have a Green Goblin, I'd say pick it up for your collection. And also, if you're like me, a customizer, if there ever has anything wrong with it, you can always, customize it just to bring it out a little bit more. I might even consider doing it custom myself in the future. But that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video at all, consider liking, subscribing, or even leaving a comment down below. I've been Figuristic Productions, and I'll see you all in the next one.